One murder every 30.5 minutes. One robbery every 1.7 minutes. One assault every 21.7 minutes. And over 85,000 active missing people. Crime happens anywhere and anytime. Thousands of unsolved cases causing time to stand still for its victims. The crime clock is ticking. The alarm has sounded. It's time for crime time.
Well, it's time for crime time. And you see, we're eating and we're drinking and we're laughing because we have been talking for about an hour on the Amber Guyger case. I mean, there's so much to cover that we just were relating back to stories that we've had with incidences like this, coming into doors, and it just is so much to cover. And I've also gone and I've been looking at the YouTube videos on the Amber case, and I thought it was pretty interesting with that, what's going on with there. And I so much to watch. I mean, I only got so many hours in the day, but I've watched as much as I could, trying to get details back so I could make an educated opinion on this whole thing. And Amber Guyger trial. Amber Guyger is on trial for shooting and killing Botham Jean in his Dallas apartment. And her defense is that she had entered the wrong apartment by mistake and thought Botham was an intruder. So she claimed Botham ignored her commands and she fired and killed him. So as I'm watching the trial and everything, I have a lot of questions, and I notice that a lot of these questions are not being asked. And I don't know if it's because they've already asked them and they've ended up in a dead end, so they're of no value to bring up in the trial, or what might be going on. And incidentally, we have Stacy Smith.
Hello.
There we go. And Sarah Block.
Hi.
Now you know which one's which, because I always say you guys' name, but nobody really knows which one's which, but they do now. And Jerry Dean. All right, so back to Amber.
Hi, ladies.
I was watching testimony where they stated the door was heavy and would shut on its own. Before I even get on the door thing, let me back up a little bit. There was another part. So I want to talk about when one of the testimonies, they said that they saw Amber get out of her white truck. So she got there, I think I put the time down. Let me look at my notes. She got there at 9:42 and she drove in with her white truck, and they actually have video of her going in there, right? And she got out of the truck, and the guy testified he saw her get out of the truck, and she was walking. She had a bag with her. So my question is, where's that bag? If she goes upstairs and is in the wrong apartment, where's the bag? She could not have been shooting the guy when she was holding the bag. So did she put the bag down outside the apartment? Did she put the bag down inside the apartment? Did she put the bag down so she could open the door with the key? Where's that bag? Did she put the bag in her apartment before she went to Botham's apartment? Where's the bag? I haven't heard anything say about where that bag ended up at. All right, that's one of my questions I would like to get an answer for.
Because it could give us some insight for sure.
Right. Yeah, if she stopped at her apartment before she went up there or not, that would certainly.
That's going to be problematic now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if she was seen carrying it and there's surveillance, then you would know if she turned around and put it back in the truck or not too. Like if you kept going with it up. Well, it's up an elevator, so it's not so hard to take an elevator with a bag.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even know what kind of bag it is. It was just bag is what he said. He didn't say purse. He didn't say workout bag. It was just the word bag. So that's one of the things that came up to my mind. And also, I found out that Guyger her boyfriend's name was Martin Rivera, and they were on the phone 3 minutes before the shooting. So they were talking up until, I guess, she got to the door, I'm assuming. 3 minutes seems like a short amount of time, but actually you would have to imagine in your head hanging up with him, and then maybe she put the phone in her bag. Maybe she put
you don't usually have good connection with cell phones in an elevator.
There you go. So maybe that's it. It took her 3 minutes to get up on the elevator, which would narrow down the time.
Yeah, maybe like they hung up right before she, maybe it was their routine right before she gets into the elevator. Okay, they talk up until that point, and they're okay. I'm getting in the elevator, we're going to disconnect,
Yeah, that's a good point. The other thing I saw that I thought was interesting when they did the inside of when I watched the inside of Botham's apartment, and I posted 2 photos of the inside of the apartment. I'm not sure which one it is, but there's 2 photos there, and it shows you the layout of it. And when you see the apartment, you see the earbuds that he was wearing laying on the floor right where the blood is. So they have said they believe he was wearing those earphones when he was shot. One of the reasons they think that he didn't respond to her. And yeah, and then I also saw where there was a remote. You could see the bowl of ice cream. It's kind of hard to tell what it is until they tell you it's ice cream. Almost looks like cereal because it's all melted at this point. But the cereal, the ice cream is sitting right in front of the ottoman. And there's also remotes there, and I think maybe even a phone. And several remotes sitting right on top, right where he could grab it, right next to the bowl of ice cream. But the one for the TV is off to the side just a bit. So it's not sitting straight in front of him like most people will do. They'll lift it up and they'll point it towards the TV. This was parallel to the TV when it's laying on the ottoman. And I thought to myself, I thought that would be kind of a clue who turned, because the reason I'm bringing this up is because when you look at the TV has been stopped. All right. When did that TV get stopped? Did we have an emergency people come in there and turn the TV off? Now it says right on the TV, the time is 9:19 on the TV. If we were to assume that the TV was shut off at 9:19 and that's the correct time, that would have been almost 20 minutes before, 25 minutes before she walked into the apartment time-wise. So that would, assumingly he had the TV off.
You can't put a lot of weight on TV settings having the proper time.
It. I agree with you. Yeah, I'm saying assumedly that was the time. We don't know if that was actually 10:42, which would seem to make a little bit more sense if it was 10:42, because then by the time somebody came into the apartment and actually turned the TV off, it could have been not him that turned the TV off. It could have been the emergency or a police officer that grabbed the remote. So that's studying where the remote was sitting on the ottoman.
Do we know what time the shots were fired, or what time the 911 call came?
I was trying to dig that up. Maybe you could dig that up while I continue talking, because I was trying to look that up and try to get exactly when this happened. Yes.
I don't remember hearing a television in the background noise of the 911 call, which means she could have turned it off, so that the 911 operator could hear her. Or if he had earbuds on, that means that the sound could have been why he had the earbuds. He could have been listening to the sound through his earbuds, and so you wouldn't have heard that. We wouldn't have heard the television.
Right.
Which you would have done if someone had been making a noise complaint against you.
Right, and I don't know, and nothing.
You know what I mean? If that had been an issue, was a noise complaint about the television or radio, that might explain why he had the earbuds, which would show that he was conscious of that, and he was trying to, not be a noise.
Right. When we were talking about it earlier, we were trying to get to the bottom of this noise complaint and get confirmation on that. And I read a CNN story that said that there was a noise complaint, and they actually went to his apartment before Amber showed up to complain. And then another article says the complaint wasn't a noise complaint; it was a marijuana smell complaint they found when they came to the apartment. The employees of the apartment complex came up there and knocked on his door, that the smell wasn't coming from his place; it was coming down the hall somewhere. So they said that was a complaint about the smell, not a complaint about the noise. So we're still not any confirmation on if there was actually a noise complaint, but evidently from what I read with the family, that somebody actually did go to his apartment and knock before Amber showed up about a complaint. All right.
Do we know if anything's been brought up yet in the trial about a noise complaint or?
I haven't run across it yet, but I haven't watched everything.
Okay.
There's so much there. I tried to watch all the testimonies, and then sometimes it clears things up, but sometimes it just brings up more questions, what I'm going through right now. I'm going, where's the bag? The earbuds are on the floor. Did he have them on? I don't think anybody really positively knows. Now we do know, I did run across, the Texas Ranger took the report, and I read that through. And it was interesting there where the Texas Ranger is saying that, I gotta lean over to read this a little bit. Let me try my glasses. See, that helps it. No, it's worse. Let me see if I get a little closer to it. I can read a little bit about this. So in the report, the affidavit for arrest warrant, or capias? For the Texas Ranger, David Armstrong, he says that, let me go down into the meat of it a little bit. Guyger entered the building and walked down the 4th floor hallway to what she thought was her apartment. She inserted a unique door key with an electronic chip into the door keyhole. The door, which was slightly ajar prior to Guyger's arrival, fully opened under the force of the key insertion. Okay, so she's saying she put the key in and that forced the door to swing open. Now, but keep that in mind. I'm going to bring that up a little bit later.
Yeah, I was going to say there's an interesting kind of door key type of thing going on, the type of door they had.
Mm-hmm. So
sounds like one of the ones from the, like a hotel has.
Maybe, because it sounds like there was some blinking light business.
Yeah, so because that's with those keys from a hotel, you slide the key in, and then when it has accepted it, then it it gives you a green light, which means go on in. But if it was already open, like I believe someone has said, then it wouldn't matter because it would have went ahead and opened it because it was ajar.
Right. So the door, which was slightly ajar prior to Guyger's arrival, fully opened under the force of the key insertion. Upon the door being open, Guyger observed that the apartment interior was nearly completely dark. Additionally, the door being open alerted complainant Jean to Guyger's presence. Believing she had encountered a burglar, which was described as a large silhouette across the room in her apartment, Guyger drew her firearm, gave verbal commands that was ignored by Jean. As a result, Guyger fired her handgun 2 times, striking him in the torso. All right. So the reason I'm bringing this part up, so this is the actual affidavit. So I'm thinking about this, and I run across a video that actually shows the door being shut. Now the door is called I put it down here so I could get there are slam fire doors. All right. So just like in a hotel room, those heavy doggone doors, to prop them open, they just slam behind you. They're made to do that because they act as a fire barrier. So in order to prop them open, you would have to put something in front of it heavier than the door because these are pretty heavy. And going by the video I've seen of the door being shut, these doors appear to be very heavy because the farther you open it, the more of a shut that you get because of the weight of it slamming it shut.
They also auto lock that way.
Now, I read the testimony by one of the people that was in the trial, and they said that they do not automatically lock, but some doors do. But these,
like the hotel doors do.
Yeah.
Normally a hotel door, if it when it slams shut, it automatically locks. So if you don't have your key, then you're kind of in a pickle.
You're in a pickle, right? Yes. So we got this heavy doggone door, and it shuts, and so you have to question some things here. So if we narrow this down here, and I ask you 2 questions, all right?
Okay.
You would have to say, so to believe Amber's story is correct, you would have to believe that the door, which was the type that slams shut because of the weight, was ajar. All right? You would have to believe, because how else did she get into the apartment? how her own key wouldn't have opened it. So
No.
how would she have gotten into the apartment if the door was not ajar? So you
either he would have had to have opened it for her.
This is my next thing. You have to believe that, or you have to believe that Botham had answered the door and walked back to his couch and sat down. So which one? The door was ajar, or Botham answered the door? That's the only two scenarios that could have possibly happened, because these doors slam all the way shut. Or you would, I suppose you could add a third.
But they don't. But if they don't auto lock, Jerry, then I mean, if it doesn't auto lock, then even if it's shut, she could have still opened it.
So you say the door wasn't locked?
Well, so no, I'm just saying. No, you said that those doors, that they said that they do not automatically lock, which means it could have been shut, and as long as it wasn't locked, that she could have. If they don't automatically lock when they shut too, then she could have still opened it just by the force of putting her key in. Could have pushed it open.
One of the articles I read made a reference to her keys dangling in the door. So to me, that says your key, whether it actually works or not, it could fit there to be dangling. And I've had this happen before in past residences where you feel like you're unlocking the door and you haven't turned the key, and just to barely push, and you're like, whoa, it's open. That means it wasn't really locked because I didn't unlock it yet. And so I kind of wonder if those kind of doors, even if they're heavy, could have been something as malfunctioning as, which the people who live there in that complex would probably know a standard. I doubt it's flukish for one particular door, but just how that little metal thing goes into the wall. How do you know it doesn't stick, or if it, or I don't know, I won't even go there with the deadbolt propping something open, but like visibly, if someone is putting their keys into their door and it's not turning, but you push it and you're gaining access, if that door is heavy, you're pushing it open to enter. And to me, if you live there, I don't know, I think I wouldn't be letting go of my keys. But then again, here she is, trained police. She's reacting like her police training, supposedly, right? Like, I'm thinking I would probably do something different. Like, what? Someone's in my place? I might leave my keys there to run down the hallway and go call for help.
Yeah, that's it too. And she says with the Texas Ranger, she said that the door swung open. It's impossible for I'm going to say, let me take that back. She didn't say it swung open. She said that fully opened under the force of the key insertion. So it sounds to me like it fully opened on its own in a way. It's put, those heavy hotel room doors, you got to put your shoulder into it to get the thing open. You can't, it's not like a front door where you open it up and it swings open. These doors won't do that.
But once it gives you that green light, it does open fairly easily. You know what I mean? When you put that key in, because that's the difference. Because we used to travel with our job, and we worked on the road for several years, and I wrestled with those keys because they would issue the key and it would be the wrong one. So you would go up there, but as soon as you gain access, because you almost hear it, you almost hear that latch, and then it does open fairly freely, even though it's a heavy door.
So I'm looking at the video as you're talking here.
Okay, there we go. See, it's like it does slam too, but it opens fairly easy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the interpretation of when someone says a door just open, to me, I kind of wonder about you were about to unlock it, but you didn't need to because it was opening for you. Not so much the gesture of it swinging open, but that you didn't even have to.
That latch had to have, like where he pushed down on it.
Mm-hmm.
That takes very little. That probably comes natural. Like when how when you push your key in, I mean that's something you probably do all in one motion. You put that key in and you do, you push down on the lever and it probably opens immediately.
Yeah, it seems to be like it. I was imagining it was going to be a heavy door and you have to push your shoulder into it. Now that we look at the video, you can see that is not that.
Yeah, I mean it's very. I mean, that it's a very smooth transition. Probably when she was going into, you could see her being able to maybe have a bag on her shoulder and a key, and maybe with with her left hand or something, pushing that little lever, and then it opened real easily for her, especially if it was already left open. I mean, or unlocked in the unlocked position.
So then now so I think that's about. That
I
helps
don't think.
a lot.
I don't think he came to the door.
I don't think he did either. Now.
And I don't think he heard her in terms of anybody being perceived as ignoring commands.
No, I think he probably had those earbuds on, and I think that it makes sense. I think he had those on because it sounds like that he was very conscious and aware of trying not to be that person that was being noisy or, and so that I think he was probably overly vigilant on trying to be cooperative. And I think that that's what makes this situation extremely sad, because it sounds like, okay, it makes sense. If someone had made a noise complaint, which we don't know when and if that happened, but if they did, I mean, it seems like that he was doing everything in his, that was in his power. He's wearing earbuds. He's watching the football game, and he's going to have earbuds. More than likely he had the sound run through there. And I mean, I just think that also speaks on, his character, and it also speaks on what he was trying to do to keep from having these issues with not just her, but with any neighbor. You know what I mean? Because that's an option that you only use that option of running your sound through your earbuds if you care to not be a noise issue for your neighbors, and so I think that just kind of speaks on how he operated. And so I think that this is a real tragedy.
Yeah. It's all, when you see that door and everything, it gives you a whole different perspective of things. It's funny how one or two words, when someone's explaining something, you think you've got the whole grasp of it. Then when you actually see something, you've got, oh, that's what they meant by that. There's a couple of more. I don't know if you guys want to see any more.
I like to get those visuals, Jerry. I appreciate you showing us that, because it really does. It makes a difference, because like you said, one little word can kind of turn where your mind goes with something. And so being able to visibly see that, it really is helpful in understanding exactly what was going on. So we appreciate that.
This is all coming from heavy.com news. They've got.
Oh, wow.
I believe that's her there, following behind. And then here's another one.
Did you watch the video where the first responders were just getting there?
No. There she is right there, I think. Yeah. She's on.
I don't see any. Oh.
You know what really comes to mind there? If that was someone else that wasn't in a police uniform, they would be handcuffed. They would not be left to walk around freely.
Yep, there's been some talk about that too, that she got special treatment. This is.
I mean, obviously, because if anyone else had been involved, in any type of shooting, they would certainly not be left alone to where, she could have took off. Not that that's what she would have done, but I'm just saying, she certainly was free to have, done whatever she wanted, and someone else would not have been treated that way.
Yep. Let me stop sharing on that.
The other thing, if you run across the video that shows the first responders getting there, it put some light to me, because it was showing that they had a difficulty navigating their way through the garage and to knowing which floor they were on. And so I think that does at least speak on that, if that that is an issue, that it's not, they said something to the effect that it's not laid out well, or something, and that it was hard for the first responders even to navigate which floor they were on. And so that kind of stood out to me, that so maybe possibly she did get confused on what floor she was on.
I didn't find that yet the time of the shooting, but I'm reading the Dallas News where Guyger is testifying for herself a couple days ago during this trial.
Yeah.
And she stated, "I knew someone was moving around inside my apartment, so I wanted just to find that threat. When she stuck her key in the lock, pushing it open because the latch had malfunctioned, she saw a silhouette of a person in the dark." I just wanted to mention that there's some kind of reference to a lock malfunction.
Okay.
And that
which that may be common with those kind of, because I just mentioned the malfunction with the that we would have with the similar type doors, in hotels.
I wanted to mention the bag too. She pulled her gun with her right hand. Her backpack, lunchbox, and police vest were in the other hand, so that would be her belongings in her left hand.
Okay.
She shouted at Bottom Jean, "Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands." She said he began walking toward her quickly, yelling, "Hey, hey, hey," in an aggressive tone, which, debatable about her tone too, right?
Well, and I imagine if somebody was in my apartment, I would be with a pretty aggressive tone myself,
I kind of wonder, hey, 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 like, yeah,
hey,
how
what
is someone
are you doing in my apartment?
Well, so he might be quite shocked that she gained entry into his place. So here he is, like innocent in his apartment, and someone barged in. That's probably what it came across as. It says she was acting in fear, that she thought he was going to kill her. I'm thinking he wasn't even holding a remote.
Well, that's what several comments have come in and have said, is basically, really, she was the armed intruder. That's going to be a lot of what is being debated on this case, and a lot of what people have to decide. Was she the armed intruder?
Yes. There also was another part that I wanted to bring up that I had forgot about, what I was going to bring up earlier. It was Amber Guyger's boyfriend, Martin Rivera.
Yes.
Martin Rivera. There's activists out there, they want him to be reinvestigated because he was involved in a shooting himself. Back in March 2007,
okay,
they were called Rivera and Lovey Page showed up at a convenience store. They had gotten a call from the owner of the convenience store, and they said there was a guy that came in there and stole a candy bar. And they were in Pleasant Grove, Texas area. So they went and looked and searched, and they found the person. His name was Brandon Washington. He was only 20 years old. And they thought that he had a gun in his pocket. It turned out to be a cell phone. And after washing, they asked him to stand down. They asked him to remove his hands out of his pocket, but he would not do that. And he began walking towards the officers, and that's when Rivera shot him and killed him. Now, Washington's mom, Antoinette, stated to the Dallas police that she questioned the legitimacy of the investigation into the shooting. So they want this shooting to be reinvestigated. And they also want Rivera fired because he admitted to deleting the texts between him and Amber.
Wow.
So
Okay, so he has deleted the text between him and Amber during this current situation. You know what? And I don't know. I mean, like me, I'm real bad about, I mean, I don't delete, I keep my messages and stuff for a long time because sometimes like maybe I get a phone number or there's something important. And so I keep them. Well, I also end up with these huge amount of memory being wasted over stuff. Well, I have friends that are just, that each day, they go through and they check their emails, they check their text messages, they delete or they save and file, and they're just very organized. And I wish that I was that way, and I'm just not. And so, so I would guess the issue here would be: is he someone that always goes through and at the end of the day or what, or that beginning of the morning, whatever his, does he automatically, if he just automatically does that and that's part of his routine, then that's not that big of a deal. Now, if he went in and specifically deleted these texts because he thought it might be something that they wanted to look at, but something else is, from what I understand, you can delete those texts and things, but if they really want them, isn't there a way that you can, they say that nothing's ever deleted forever.
Yeah, they've got the text and everything, but yeah, I think the point they're trying to make is that he would have had to known that those texts would have been important for this case.
Yes, so, being a police officer and being that he was talking back and forth to her, that yeah, I mean, it does show that, and like I said, unless he just automatically is one of those that just deletes all of his, messages.
Well, he's a married man having sexual chats with his police partner.
There you go. I guess he does automatically delete all that.
And it does matter. I mean, like maybe if that's his reasoning for deleting them, that's one thing. It's another, but you would think that the other, I mean, we're talking about it's going to be a criminal investigation. And so is that not tampering with evidence?
That's what they're saying.
So why are they not? That. And that's a huge.
They want him fired for that. Yeah, they want him fired for that he shouldn't have done that.
Well, not only should I mean, if that is the case, not only should he be fired, but he should also have charges, just like any other citizen. If Sarah went in and she was, was friends with someone that was involved in a crime, and she went in and she deleted messages that, that was pertinent to a crime, then Sarah would have tampering charges. And so they should do him the same way as if any citizen off the street. So
yeah, he has to be above reproach. When you're in a profession like that, you have to act above reproach so that nothing can come back. That's your duty. If you're going to be a police officer, that's your duty. And to do something like delete messages, no matter what the reason is, you should get in trouble for that.
And so this wasn't something that he just did, without thinking. I mean, it sounds like that he went in and made a conscious decision. I'm going to get rid of these texts. Not only would my wife see them when I'm cheating on her, but not only that these are pertinent to a, something that's being investigated by the police department. And so I think that does show a lot of intent on his part. And so I do think that he should be looked at. I think he should be looked at in this situation and the previous one.
Right. So we're about running out of time. And anybody got a quick last word they want to say?
Well, I ran across an NBCnews.com where they're talking about Amber laying out her narrative of what happened September 6, 2018. So a year ago, where she thought she was on the wrong floor just before 10 p.m. I was scared he was going to come at me and kill me. She was in a mindset of she was just ready to go home. It sounds like they established that she didn't opt to conceal and cover and seek help from the police headquarters that was just a few minutes away from their apartment complex. She became emotional in the stand, and when they were questioning how she tried to use her electronic key fob to open the door. So they referenced the key fob. You know how, like, I don't know if that means like it's detecting that it's you. Key fob? I'm not sure.
A key fob is what, like you have on your car that, the little clicker?
Right. So like that kind of puzzles me a little bit more if it's recognizing you or not. it said she had her work back and police vest slung. The door was already open. I was scared. Your heart rate just skyrocket. Anyway, she made a choice to enter in her own apartment and take on the aggression of
instead of calling for
backup. She could
defending her property.
Have went to a neighbor's house and called for for
police. Botham would still be alive if she had done that. If she had made that decision, he'd still be alive. All right, well, we're out of time. Just like that, it went really quick this time. So everybody, subscribe.
Hit the like and subscribe and the bell.
And we're going to even talk about doing more shows and more on the week, and you're going to miss them if you don't subscribe. So thanks, everybody, for listening and watching. And we'll see you next time.
And sorry to pipe in at the end, but I was going to say we were laughing and talking at the beginning on our different stories down memory lane. It wasn't in any kind of celebration of anything. We were in good spirits talking about other stories, but on the case, we very much were serious. And they did say that Bottom Jean just had a birthday on Sunday. Aww. They did a red tie event in honor of when he would have turned 28. So
well, and it seems like that he was a very nice gentleman, and I wanted to say that this is a tragedy all the way around. I really do believe that, and it sounds like that he was a wonderful person, and I hate this for his friends and family.
Me too. Thank you, everybody.
All right, see you guys. Bye.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Now that we're stuffing face.
Of course. That's part of it.
I got leftover carnival popcorn from movie night. Stacy's got Coca-Cola. You sound pretty American. What is that? August. Oh, high protein. Oh, gotta hydrate with Fiji.
This is the rich people's water. That's what my grandkids call it.
Right. Well, I still have a few sips of coffee. I've been nursing, and then I have a couple of bottles of water ready to go.
The views expressed on this podcast are personal opinions only. While all attempts are made to present accurate information, it may not be appropriate for your specific circumstances, and information may become outdated over time. Crime Time Podcast does not assume any liability with regard to results based on the use of information provided here. Furthermore, advertisers, commentators, and linked sites are solely responsible for their views and content, which does not necessarily represent the views of Crime Time. We welcome you to download and play the podcast and share with others for personal use. Please acknowledge the Crime Time Podcast as the source of the material. You may not, except with our express written permission, distribute or commercially exploit the content. The information is provided by Crime Time Podcast. We endeavor to keep the information up to date and correct. We make no representations or warranties of any kind, express or implied, about the completeness, accuracy, reliability, suitability, or availability with respect to the website or the information, products, services, or related graphics contained on the website for any purpose. Any reliance you place on such information is therefore strictly at your own risk. Thank you. And by all means, shove a few more words into these paragraphs so that I have to read complicated, comma-placed statements throughout an entire document and then try to record it in one take.